Welcome to Leadership Matters, a podcast from the Bailey Group. I'm your host, Kaylee Thompson, president of and partner at the Bailey Group, where we believe better leaders create healthier workplace environments, healthier humans, and a better world. On this show, we explore real stories, practical insights, and honest conversations to help you lead yourself and others better. Thanks for joining us. Let's dive in. Welcome back, everyone, to Leadership Matters. I'm your host, Kaylee Thompson, and today I'm excited to have a special guest with us, Libby Doran. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Kaylee. It's so good to be with you.
It's good to be with you as well. Libby is a rock star when it comes to the world of executive search, and I'm really excited for all the insights that you'll share with us today.
Thanks.
I want to start on a personal note. What's important for folks to know about you, both as a person and as a leader?
I think first, when I am asked a question like this, my identity is about being a mom of three, a wife. We're about to celebrate our 25th anniversary.
Wow.
I started my career in a very different place than executive search. I started in international development, working for USAID, and I focused on programs serving the Horn of Africa, so Ethiopia, Sudan, Somalia, later South Africa.
Wow.
And that was super formative for me. And so that global perspective and the power of education in helping elevate human capital and human performance started really early on before I pivoted over to this advisory work.
Sure. What drew you to the world of USAID, Libby?
When I was finishing college 100 years ago, I wanted to help, and it was the AIDS epidemic, and it was really ugly in sub-Saharan Africa. And I said to my parents as I was graduating with my liberal arts degree, if I have to go to Kenya and hand out condoms, I'll do it.
Wow.
Well, I moved to DC and luckily through a friend got a job working for the government, and I was focused on food aid programming just to try and make a difference in the world. And yeah.
What impact did that experience have on the person you are today?
I think that the impact that I feel is around humanity and understanding that as humans, we're all in our lot in life for different reasons, but we're all humans. We have families. We want to do better, be better. And I was raised in privilege, and it was a new perspective for me to interact with people who did not come from the same privilege that we enjoy in the U.S. The other piece that was super formative was as because I went and studied this in graduate school too. The power of education in changing people's life circumstances was profound. And so for me, coming back, I ultimately obviously didn't go into the Foreign Service, and I didn't spend my career doing that. But I believe deeply in education and human development as levers for economic change and changing people's circumstances. And so that lends itself to the work I do now. Yeah.
Talk about that impact of education. I mean, I heard you use the word profound. Can you share a story of where you could so clearly see the transformative impact of education in the trajectory of somebody's life or community?
In 2000, a good friend of mine named Jim McCorkle wrote a white paper in his graduate school about a nonprofit that could make a difference in getting people into college. And that white paper became an organization called Admission Possible, which is now College Possible.
No way.
Wow. And I got lucky and started on Jim's board in 2000. And this program, which started with a cohort of 36 kids in St. Paul and Minneapolis public schools, helped provide SAT prep and college counseling and college visits and financial aid help to these students who were first attenders for college, so first gen. And today that organization has expanded its mission to help students not only get into college, but get through college, and is serving about 25,000 students around the country. And I have the privilege of being part of that organization, but also as I rolled off the board, I started mentoring a College Possible grad who was from Ethiopia. He went to Gustavus Adolphus, played soccer, graduated, and I continue to mentor him today. And he is now working in a bank, a director level, doing great things. And he was first gen in his family. And that's a pretty typical story coming out of that. So he's changed it, for his family.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm familiar with College Possible. I was not aware of your connection there. That's really neat to learn that about you, Libby. And it's such a great depiction of an intervention totally changing the trajectory of somebody's life.
Yeah. And it's an intervention, but those students at College Possible, they own it and they earn it. And they're the ones doing the work. So it's just maybe a little lift.
Yeah. Creating the conditions, equipping them with resources,
Yeah.
skills that they may not have otherwise had access to.
That's right. I can think of another young woman from that original cohort who's now gotten her JD. She lives in Chicago, and all 7 of her siblings have graduated from college.
Wow.
Yeah, because she sort of set the path for that family.
That's incredible.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Incredible.
Mhm.
So you spent 5 years working with USAID.
Mhm.
Where do you go next, Libby?
So I was in graduate school thinking I was going to get a PhD in food security.
What drew you to food security specifically?
We were seeing when we were distributing food to Ethiopia during the Civil War that we were having an adverse economic impact on farmers there because it became so dependable year after year that they stopped planting.
Sure.
And therefore, when the rains came and the Civil War subsided, they weren't going to have the food that they used to have. So I was interested in understanding how we could provide relief aid without creating structural dependencies. But one summer, I did an internship living in Addis Ababa. And rather than staying in a hotel and being, driven back and forth between the embassy and so on, I was living in an apartment. And it was a really tough epiphany for me because I was lonely. I was, a Midwestern corn-fed young woman who was pretty apparent, obvious on the streets. And it was just a really hard summer, and I missed my family like crazy. And I came to this tough conclusion that I was going to pivot away from this altruistic career path and the academics to something else because I realized it wasn't going to be a good fit for my values or lifestyle. So that was really hard for me at that moment.
How did you get through that? You talked about how you've got this one intention for the direction of your life, and you're so impact driven that this feels like the right thing. And then you get in it and you realize, oh, something's off here. I need to change something. How did you navigate that, Libby?
First of all, I have a really great family. And so that was huge for me. And I'm a processor. And so I sat with a yellow legal pad and I wrote down the things that weren't working for me and the things that were working for me and that I wanted to aspire to. And I turned it into kind of a problem set to try and figure out, if not this, but if this, then what's going to be a good solution for me as I conclude my master's degree and graduate from school. And I realized I really loved being around decision makers, being involved in strategic discussions. I liked project work. as opposed to sort of routine annualized work. And I liked people who were missional and purposeful in how they did the work.
Sure.
And so I sort of ran it through my little algorithm and came out and said, "Oh, I want to be a management consultant when I leave graduate school,"
Oh, that's
which was,
exciting.
I don't know. I mean, it was totally uninformed, but in some ways it was well reasoned.
Yeah.
And I got a job with a great boutique management consultancy leaving school, and that's kind of what I did for the next 5 years.
What surprised you the most about getting into that space?
That they took me.
Now, who am I?
I was a part of a small cohort, maybe a dozen people in my class who joined this firm. And all of them, except two of us, were MBAs, and the other two were public policy people. And they just liked how we thought and believed that we could learn the tools and the methodologies in our clients and their industries and taught us. And so it gave me a lot of confidence in the power in my ability to learn and deliver. And I ramped up okay. I did fine. I started working in strategy and then more and more kept being pulled over to sort of organization development and leadership development side because I love the human side of business more than anything.
Yeah. It's a through line in your life for sure. The human aspect and being of service.
Mhm.
So you now run a firm yourself.
Yeah.
Bring us back to, first of all, at what point, if any, did you realize I'm really meant to be an entrepreneur? I mean, has this been something that has been kind of a seed in you since your earliest days? Is this something where it was sort of a flash of the obvious later on in life? Bring us back to kind of younger versions of yourself and where you first discovered this sort of calling.
So I would say I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. But I worked for a great search firm for about 7 years. And I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed learning. And I really fell in love with middle market organizations there and serving and helping them elevate. But one day I just realized I wasn't growing and I was feeling stuck. And I started interviewing actually for organization development roles in corporations around town in the Twin Cities.
Interesting.
And I had some great interviews and great conversations. But one of my friends, Danny Kramer, said, "Why are you interviewing with these companies? Why aren't you just studying out and doing this yourself?" And Danny is someone I'd known since the early days in Washington, D.C. He had started a very successful grassroots consulting organization. And honestly, his deep belief in me
Changed everything.
changed everything.
Wow.
And I said, "You're right. I guess I could." And then I got a client, and then I got another client. And yeah, and I just had hung up my shingle and it worked.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think it was about you that made it work? So I think there's many people in the world that look at someone successful like you who, are however many years into this and they think that couldn't be me or I couldn't do that. What do you think it was about you that's led you to where you are now?
My Myers-Briggs is an ENFP. And so I'm sort of open-hearted, emotive, very intuitive in how I think about things and how I make decisions. And I think it makes me pretty accessible. And from a consulting perspective, I'm not super decisive. And so people loved that I brought options and ideas and brainstorming. And so I think that was a piece of it that made me successful. I'd also gone really broad. I had seen many, many industries, many, many companies. And brought a lot of different analogies and frameworks, thanks to my consulting experience, to bear. And so that made me able to work with a lot of different clients and deliver for them. And then flashing forward to today, I still think that having gone broad and done the management consulting and worked in a generalist search practice for as long as I have, um, has been a big help. The other piece for me, I've always been I have a really strong values compass, and I know when things don't feel right, and I know really clearly when they do feel right. And I also have the courage to have tough conversations with people and to say things to them, clients or teammates, that might not be comfortable, but might be important. And I think that brings you some credibility after a number of years of doing that.
Yeah. And it establishes trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
This person isn't just telling me what I might want to hear, but they're telling me what I need to hear.
Yeah. I think that's right. Bailey Group does that. Your truth tellers as well.
We do. Yeah. And it's a tricky balance because there's a receptivity piece. To what degree is this person receptive? But I love how you talk about this values alignment. And as long as you know that you're acting out in good faith in service of the other person, I heard you say I can have difficult conversations. And I do believe that that is such a critical skill from a leadership standpoint. It doesn't mean it's always comfortable or easy. In fact, sometimes they're very, very hard. To what degree have you had to grow your comfort with having difficult conversations or stretch yourself? Or has this been kind of an innate gift or ability that you've had?
Yeah. I have never been able to turn off that when something doesn't feel right. That's innate. And I can remember back in college, I was head of an organization that was affiliated with a national organization. And we went to a national convention, and there was a ton of sort of religious underpinnings and in how the national was operating. And that was really misaligned with the students who were part of this organization that I was leading. And we just made the call that that wasn't an affiliation we should still have. And we brought our organization from national to local. So that's always been part of me. Having the ability to give feedback and have the tough conversations, in some ways, I have an easier time doing it with clients than I do with my teammates.
Why do you think that is?
I don't want to hurt feelings. But I can also think back to a time when my boss at this consulting firm, his name's John Younger, and he was an amazing mentor to me. And we were up in Ottawa, Canada, presenting at a telecom company. And I went through my section of the presentation on some, I don't know, competitive landscape or something. And we left the building and we got in the car to drive back to the airport. And he said, I need to give you some feedback. And I said, okay. And he said, you need to stop saying, And it hit me. I mean, it was piercing. And I'm not perfect at that, but the spirit of it was one of growth and development and getting better.
Yeah.
And I listened to him, and I try to sort of bring that spirit into tougher conversations that I have with my team members
Yeah.
now. And I'm not perfect at it. And sometimes I'm avoidant because I'm just too nice sometimes. But I work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it about his delivery that communicated his spirit of growth?
I think there was a piece about his delivery, which it was set the stage. I need to give you some feedback. So I was able to center and then directly saying, stop saying, And I said, thank you. And I'm sure he said you did a good job on other parts. I don't remember that.
Sure.
But the other piece, Kaylee, was this was a mentor who our offices were in the Soho neighborhood in New York. And he would come to my office, a little cube, and he'd say, walk with me. And we'd go out and we'd get one of those blue cups of coffee and he'd smoke cigarettes and we would walk the streets of Soho together, just brainstorming, ideating, talking about stuff. So there was a pattern of care and growth and development that was well established. And so I knew he wasn't in it to be nasty or to take me down. He was in it to make me successful for the long term.
Yeah. That's so powerful. I'm so glad you shared that story of walking the streets of the Soho neighborhood. And it's evident there was clearly trust in that relationship and positive regard for one another. We talk with clients all the time about difficult conversations are much easier when you've got a relationship with that person, when you're invested in that person, when there's a level of trust and this positive regard that you speak of. What else made him such an amazing mentor, John? I heard you categorize him as an amazing mentor.
During those walks on the streets of Soho, he always filled his pockets with change. And there were a lot of homeless, or I should say unhoused people who we'd run into. And he would stop and actually look them in the eye and ask them about the day and give them something. And so there was something about his ability to sort of connect and be human with anybody. Because the next day we were meeting with the head of, Kellogg's or something. That was just fantastic. Yeah. So that was one. The firm was really based in alignment of strategy and people and around career development and how people's careers could grow in many, many different ways. And then they just did a great job of growing the consultants the way they were working to grow teams at our client companies.
So none of us have had a perfectly easy journey in life. Bring us back to a really challenging season, Libby.
I would say that there are two. One is, of course, the pandemic. I'm sure 90% of your guests talk about that. And another is right now, with sort of the uncertainty that we're seeing in the economy, with policy, with the administration, with everything that's going on in the world, with AI, all the stuff.
Yeah.
And being a small business owner, this is a hard time because there's so much that I don't know. We're working just that economic concept of incomplete information. There's so much incomplete information. There's hardly any information we can plan off of right now. And so I learned during the pandemic that I lost a lot of sleep. And I learned during the pandemic that I would work and work and work and work 18 hours a day, work so hard trying to solve for stuff. And I learned that doesn't help. And so this time around, I've been controlling what I can control, trying to be honest with our team about what we know and what we don't know. And we're going to come out of this stronger.
Yeah.
Our team's intact. We haven't lost one person.
Wow.
We've invested deeply in internal stuff. So branding and website and technology and different capabilities in ourselves. And it's been a really, it's like we've coiled this spring. It is so tight, we're ready to explode.
Sure.
But that's what we can control, and it keeps us together and it keeps us productive.
Yes.
And so I feel like some of the lessons from the pandemic have been aids in this. And there's also a universal kind of spiritual piece, which is things are usually going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so trying to remember and keep my mindset toward abundance and growth has also been helpful.
Yeah.
And I don't work 18 hours a day.
Good for you. I love that, Libby. So when you said we're going to be okay, that brought me back kind of full circle to your original journey around the human experience. and how we're more alike than we are different. And certainly there's different circumstances, but we're all in this together. And it feels like almost like a full circle moment.
Mm-hmm. We are all in this together. Yeah. And I think it's a moment for me personally where focusing on our community, our family, trying to make every interaction one of kindness and caring, that's going to put the energy out there that's going to get us to a better place.
That is beautiful. And I will tell you, from my experience with you, we've known each other for years now. You have such a generous spirit about you. And you really embody that kindness and compassion that you speak of.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I still have lots to work on.
So what are you working on these days?
I'm working on follow-up, execution. I'm pretty good at vision and ideation and strategy, and there's a whole piece of that I can do better on. And part of it is making sure that I've got the people around me who will take those ideas and bring them to life. And part of it is modulating in how much capacity any organization has to do new and different stuff. And part of it is just me doing the routine stuff of working through my to-do list and doing the follow-ups that I committed to doing. I'm working on it.
You've got such a broad range of responsibilities. I really think about you, Libby, and you've got sort of this eye towards the future and where am I steering the ship? And you've got the near-term need to execute in a really high-integrity way and provide a high-quality experience really consistently. I heard you talk about the necessity for the right people in the right seats around you. How do you practically do it all?
I have such a great team of colleagues. I just wrote my own job description. And actually, we just wrote all of our job descriptions so that there's like alignment between where we want to go and who's doing what.
Wow.
And they're kind of serving as our contract and promises to each other about how we're going to contribute to the firm.
I love that.
Thanks.
Where did this come from? What was the catalyst for this new initiative around all of us getting on paper our job description?
Well, we had job descriptions for everybody. It was time for a refresh.
Yeah.
Right? But I never had one. And I've been feeling this need to up my game as we've been growing. We've gone from 3 people when we started 6 years ago, and now we're at 11, and hopefully we're going to grow a couple more this year. But my role's changed a lot. I used to be right in there delivering searches. I still am very active in searches, but I'm not researching. I'm not doing the outreach the way I used to. And so I needed to just define what it is I needed to be focused on. We do this for our clients all the time. And we were the cobbler's children, right?
Yes.
So it was a great exercise. Hopefully I'll stick with it and stay in my swim lanes. But we do it all the time, and translating our clients and helping them translate where they want to go strategically into what that looks like from a leadership standpoint. And so it was time for us to do that. Yeah.
What did you have to give yourself permission to let go of to embrace this I can't and I don't do it all?
I had to let go of a fair amount of the process. And let someone else step into working on that stuff.
What was hardest about that for you?
Is it Libby's way or is it Doran Leadership Partners' way? And I had to let go of the idea that my ideas were the right ones. I think I had to be explicit about that. I did that a long time ago as we've added people to the team who are fantastic. But I don't hold a trump card on that anymore.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's been a growth year.
How do you feel about it?
Excited. One of the things that I'm going to start doing more of is writing. And I really, really love to write.
Mm.
And I've got sort of a list of all the posts that I need to work on and just being more active in social. And yeah. So I'm super energized by that. I'm energized by opening new markets,
Mm.
by continuing to work on sharing our story and bringing on new clients. I love that stuff.
I can tell. I
Yeah.
can see you light up as you talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
It's palpable.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. It's good.
So give those of us less experienced in the hiring, recruitment, search space the key, Libby. What do we need to know about hiring the right people? And where do employers get most tripped up?
My belief is that there are several things that candidates bring to the table. They bring what's on their resume around skills and hard experiences. They bring a leadership style, and they bring leadership competency. And from all of our work together, we're a leadership competency-driven shop. Those are capabilities that are transferable, learnable, demonstrable, but don't necessarily look like a hard skill. So it's things like strategic acumen, collaboration, inclusive leadership. I think where companies get tripped up, or organizations, is when they just only focus on the experiences and skills. And it's the combination of leadership competency, values, and leadership style that is really key to figuring out what's going to work from a cultural standpoint and be aligned that way.
Why is it, from your perspective, that companies undervalue or maybe even underassess on the leadership competency standpoint?
I think it's a little mushier and softer, and not every organization has the capability or knows how to do it. What do you think? You see it too.
I mean, it made me wonder about your comment around education being so critical. I don't know. I don't know if it's a lack of awareness around how critical that piece is, or an overemphasis on, well, if they've done it before, they can do it again from an experience standpoint. I know, so you referenced our work together. I'm thinking of a few searches that we've done in partnership, where you are the search aficionados and phenomenal at sourcing. I'm thinking back to a recent pre-hire assessment that we did on a search that your team had done, and you had sourced phenomenal candidates. I think it's the best. The closest, the poor employer was trying to kind of split hairs on which one do I go with. What I will say is, I think when employers have been burned, they better understand that it's not just the experience, it's not just the skill. That fit piece is so critical. The personality piece is so critical to really drive the impact that they're seeking for this person to drive.
Right. I think that's right. The other thing that I also believe that hiring is, you talk about growth, organic growth and inorganic growth. And hiring is an inorganic act. It's taking a person and putting them into a new habitat. And if you haven't done the work to make sure that the habitat is ready for the change, and the person is going to align really well with the habitat, then that's a big risk factor. And so doing the work up front to get many voices involved in the change that's going to happen, having people feel like their fingerprints are on the position profile, asking them our ideas, I think that's just a process piece around good change management relative to bringing in external leadership.
Yeah. That is such a powerful visual that really has the potential to change the trajectory of the organization. And it's not that the person's a bad person or there's nothing objectively bad about the human. It's just, how do you create the conditions for maximum synergy around what this unique human being brings to this unique organization in really high integrity ways?
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And a piece of that is how not only the work you do before the hire, but the work you do planning to help that new executive on board and accelerate the rate at which they can get to full performance and contribution. Yeah.
It's huge.
It's huge. So lots of different ways to tackle that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you see it go south, so again, I know you are fantastic at what you do, and inevitably things go south. For whatever reason, the habitat wasn't ready for that human, or that human wasn't ready for that habitat. What do you see most often is the reason why it didn't ultimately work out?
One is that the situation in the company wasn't as advertised. There were surprises when the person came in. And that person maybe wasn't prepared. It can be a breach of trust when things weren't fully disclosed. That can be a problem. There's situations where in this day and age, after the pandemic, and people assume with hybrid work or remote work or whatever that they can do any job from anywhere. And maybe the new executive promised that they'd make a move and they actually don't have intention to make that move. That can be really problematic for organizations that need localized leadership. Sometimes the lack of alignment on what the most important first steps are can get someone off on a bad foot. So someone comes in and says, well, I created my first 90-day plan. Here I go. Instead of working with the board chair or working with the CHRO to make sure that there's alignment between the parties on what's the right thing for the first 90 or 180 days. Those are 3 examples I can give you.
Those are all great. Thank you for sharing.
They're all super painful.
Yeah. I'd imagine they are.
Yep.
Which again goes to show why it's so critical up front to create the conditions to maximize the chances of success long term. Because these are huge decisions, both for the organization and also for the individual whose life is impacted.
That's right. And the statistic we hear thrown around is that 40% of executive hires fail.
Really?
I don't like that. We can do better for exactly the reasons you're talking about. That executive and their family and their livelihood have just been completely upset. And the organization goes through so much pain when something doesn't work out.
Wow. So I want to switch gears a little bit here. Thinking back on your journey and all the hard-earned lessons that you've learned along the way, what's a piece of advice you would have given to an earlier version of yourself that you really needed to hear?
The piece of advice I would give is, early Libby, you deserve to be at this table. You have a lot to contribute. Make sure your voice is heard.
So powerful. And why did your younger self need to hear that so badly?
I think I sat back a little bit and felt shy about what I brought to the table. And my impact could have been greater, and I could have been more helpful to our clients by being a little bit more forceful. Some of it's gendered. some of it's experience based. But I just would say to any younger person coming in, particularly now when the next gen knows 10,000 times more about technology and AI than we do,
Yeah.
speak up.
Yeah.
We need to hear you.
Yeah. And it reminds me of your comment from earlier around that internal compass and trusting your instincts and trusting your gut. I know that was a hard lesson for me to learn. I was always looking externally and really didn't trust my instincts or my gut or my own perspective. That I really am inspired to hear how that's been a through line in your life. You've always known, maybe you haven't always spoken out to the degree that you might have wished, but it was always in there.
Mhm. I'm surprised you've struggled with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've talked before, I was all externally focused entirely. And there's a number of different, formative experiences I can think of that. I mean, I remember school, for example. I heard a teacher, I might have mentioned this on the podcast once, say to me, I don't care what grade you get in this class. What I care is if you learned the material. And I could not understand that at all. I said, no, what do you mean? Everybody cares what grade. My parents care, the principal cares, the colleges that I go to care. I wasn't ready to receive that message or truly understand what he meant. I felt like to play the game, you got to figure out how to get get the right answer, figure out the right solution. And it took me a long time, probably all of my 20s, to really recognize there isn't a one right answer. You make the best decision you can with the information that you have available at the time, and trust. This is what I had to work on most specifically. Trust your capabilities that you can pivot if and when you need to.
Yeah.
Because you will need to.
It took me a lot longer than my 20s to learn that. It did. That did. But that notion of you got to make a decision with what you got,
Yes.
and you can always pivot to something else. It's really freeing.
Yeah. Massively freeing.
Particularly in small organizations like ours.
Yeah.
We can always go back and do it differently next time.
Yes.
But let's act.
Yes. Decide and act. So what do you think the catalyst was for you to learn that lesson, Libby?
I'm an information gatherer.
Mm.
I, in school, would research
Mhm.
for the 2 weeks before an assignment was due. And then the night before, I'd write that 10-page paper.
Mm.
And I learned the hard way because I got bad grades that that I needed to just iterate more.
Yeah.
And so management consulting was super helpful on that.
How so?
Because you got timelines and you got to get it right. And you
Sure.
got to get it out the door and present and deliver. And so I got comfortable putting things on paper without full information. And in search, there's no such thing as a perfect candidate.
Mm.
And so you have to go into it knowing that we've got an idealized profile and we're going to do everything in our power to match to that. But at a certain point, the market is what the market is.
Yeah.
And we got to move forward for our clients. And they appreciate that because nobody wants to wait 18 months to get a new leader on board.
Yes.
And there's no such thing as perfection.
Yeah.
And I think I'm at peace with that.
Mm. It's this concept of knowing when good enough is good enough.
Yeah. I'm still bad on one thing, which is documents and writing. To my love of writing, I have never seen a document that I didn't edit. And my team will tell you, don't show it to her. Because she'll redline it.
That is hilarious.
I'm super picky on documents.
It's interesting. Do you use EOS at Doran Leadership Partners? So Gina Wickman is the founder of this entrepreneurial operating system that I spoke with Mary Nutting last week about. And I just saw a LinkedIn post from him, and he talked about, I was curious because you use the visionary language of I'm a dreamer, I'm a visionary, which I see and experience, and the ENFP certainly backs up.
Mhm.
But he talked about visionaries don't apologize for the high standards that you have. It's what's made you different. It's what's made you successful. It's what's set the bar high enough for your organizations to have a reason to exist in a very crowded marketplace.
I love that. I'm sitting up straighter. I love that. We have a lot of clients that are EOS, that have grown greatly because of EOS.
Yeah.
And so I do love that visionary integrator
Yes.
dyad.
Yeah.
It's been very helpful.
So you've been in the world of organizational development. How have you set up the structure and the accountability that works well for your organization? So I've talked about before, EOS is a system to get particularly founders or visionaries out of the weeds and really focus on, big, hairy, audacious goals for the organization, and then set quarterly goals to help you actualize that vision. What have you found most helpful in really casting this vision and bringing on the right talent to help you execute in a high integrity way?
I think we are a work in process.
Aren't we all?
Oh my gosh. I feel so lucky to work with the team that I work with. And people are willing to wear a couple of hats. And so they have roles that are, search related and then more admin and middle office related. And so divvying up responsibilities that way has been super helpful. We also are very team-based and collaborative. And we've morphed our model to be less hierarchical in terms of like partner research or search person. And we have super senior people, so hiring people who are great business people who bring the leadership competencies to search that we need. And then we teach them search. So we don't have traditional recruiters.
Yeah, fascinating.
And that's been really a sort of, I would just say that's been a big part of our secret sauce.
Wow.
Finally, we put them together. And we are all social animals and we love working together. And so we mix up the teams on every assignment. And these are people who are personally accountable. Like they get stuff done, great collaborators, and make the choice to do the important work with DLP. So that's been a really magical transition for us, is to team base our search assignments.
It's such a unique approach.
Is it?
It to me, I mean, this idea around kind of flipping like the ideal profile for people who are searching on its head and bringing in business people that you teach really the needs. It's just a very unique model, it feels.
We are so lucky. We've got this amazing group of people that have, I think the employment value proposition that we bring is high impact work,
Yeah.
great team,
Yeah.
you make good money,
Yeah.
and you've got flexibility.
Yeah.
And that's been appealing to people.
Yeah.
And we hire them and we keep them.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm really, really pleased with that.
Why is that so important to you personally? So I can hear the intentionality behind the environment that you create for your employees. Where does that come from, Libby?
A piece of it is that that's the environment I want to have. And going back to that identity question, I'm a mom of 3. I'm in a marriage that I care deeply about. I want to be engaged civically. I can't sit at a desk from 8 to 5. And so having the flexibility to come and go, to get the work done, to work independently, to use my judgment. That's really important to me. And I haven't always had that. And so I believe that hiring senior people, you need to give them that and let them rock and roll. Yeah. And so because it's important to me personally, I think it's been a valuable model for our firm.
And clearly it's worked well.
Yeah.
What else is required to make that work? So I would imagine there's a certain level of maturity or commitment or commitment to impact, for example. Why do you think that's worked so successfully? What are the critical ingredients to allow that model to work? I would imagine if you pick that model up and maybe put it into a totally different environment, it wouldn't, good, bad, or indifferent, it wouldn't work as successfully in that environment.
Well, it's a good question. I think one of the other pieces, which you've brought up a lot, is actually trust. That we hold ourselves accountable and we trust each other to get the work done. And there's also an ethos of care that our team members bring, not just for our clients, but also for the candidates that work with us and are willing to take a conversation, be vulnerable, explore things outside their current roles. We're not perfect at it, but I just think that ethos of care also is part of the secret sauce. Yeah.
And that's powerful stuff.
Yeah. It is powerful. It is powerful. And I don't know how our team does it, but they're incredible. They do great work. And they have full and complete lives outside.
Yeah.
That's another thing. We believe in whole people at work. I don't want someone who suits up and comes in and then just has a completely sort of anonymous rest of their life.
Yeah.
And so, we talk about we just show up as our whole selves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if someone's having a bad day, someone had a bad drop off at daycare, we want to hear about it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're familiar with the research better than most of us around workplace friendships are the number one reason why people stay. Having people that genuinely see the human or the whole person, to use your language, behind the work is critical for retention.
Yeah. I've been lucky personally because I really have, throughout my career, worked in environments where that's the case. And so I don't know anything but, and I couldn't do anything but.
That's beautiful. Take us home, Libby. What's a piece of hard-earned advice that's on your heart right now that you'd like to share?
It's all going to be okay. There's enough for everybody. The road is long, and our paths will cross again. And so the way we act and show up today is going to reflect on us and ripple for a really long time. Wow. So that's what I'm carrying on my heart right now.
I think that's wonderfully said. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today. It's been a joy and a privilege and a pleasure to hear from you and learn from you.
It's such an honor to be here, and I've learned just as much as you have. So thank you, Kaylee. Good to be with you.
You as well. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Leadership Matters. If today's episode resonated with you, would you do me a favor and share it with someone you care about? To learn more about the work the Bailey Group is doing in the world, check us out at thebaileygroup.com or follow us over on LinkedIn. We love sharing useful articles, helpful resources, and valuable tools to help you expand your leadership capacity. Like and subscribe, and join us next time for more honest conversations.